world is full of beautiful and mysterious things. Although it seems that scientific knowledge is growing so rapidly that everything that's important should already have been discovered, there is still much to be learned. One of the best ways to learn about things is to observe them firsthand. I'm watching a herd of mountain sheep over there. If I watch them long enough and think about what I'm seeing, I should be able to learn a lot about mountain sheep behavior. Right now, they seem to be taking it easy, chewing up the grasses they'd previously swallowed. That seems to be a major use of leisure time for sheep. Of course, the most interesting creature to watch are people, any people. Everybody's always doing something. It's impossible to do nothing unless you're dead. Hi. People are often not particularly aware of what they're doing, but there are some activities that are so common, so universal, they're like the air around us, always there but seldom noticed. These activities make up an important part of our lives. Who we are and what we become is largely shaped by how we approach these universal activities. So what are these free time activities? Well, there are 11 of them, and they're the most popular free time activities in the world.
People come to the beaches to enjoy themselves. They act naturally here, but the universal activities can be seen almost anywhere once you know what to look for. We'll start with napping, a popular way of spending time, and beaches are one of the few places where people are comfortable about sleeping in public. Eating can be a form of entertainment too, a pleasant way to pass the time. Simple conversation, such as idle chatter or shooting the breeze, is another universal activity. Some forms of conversation are too demanding and wouldn't qualify. Listening to music became a truly universal activity with the invention of portable radios and tape decks. Now we have 4 universal activities identified: napping, snacking, chatting, and listening to music. Now let's see what the others are. Courtship behavior, touching, kissing, fondling, are very pleasant ways of passing the time. And the most popular universal activity of all, people watching. You can see how people arrange themselves so that it's easy to watch others. And here we are, people watchers, watching people watchers. Another universal activity is simple movement, like strolling. Jogging doesn't qualify as it requires too much effort. Daydreaming, it can be tough to spot, as it may be camouflaged as napping or watching things. Grooming is the 9th universal activity. It can include things like combing hair, applying makeup, pinching zits, sunbathing, or splashing about in the water. Then there is reading. This one is different from all the others as it takes a special skill. But once you have the hang of it, reading can be as easy as chatting. The 11th universal activity is intoxication. It takes little or no skill to achieve. There are thousands of substances that will change the way the brain works. And when we change the way our brain works, we change the way we think and feel. Although beaches are a good place to observe these 11 universal activities, they can be seen any time that people don't have to be doing something else. What we have here is a mall, another example of a people place. People places include things like malls, parks, shopping centers, as well as beaches. Only this kind of environment is designed as a people place, set up to enable people to do the universal activities. In many ways, downtown malls are a reinvention of the village square, a recognition of the importance of the part that universal activities play in our lives. Architects and business people have begun to realize the potential of providing places that promote these activities. The design of shopping centers is changing. They're becoming better people places and a lot more attractive.
Welcome to the village square of the 1980s. Obviously, this is no average shopping center, but it does share many of the characteristics of centers being designed and built throughout North America today.
Skating is not a universal activity. It requires too much skill and special equipment. But watching skaters is just another form of people watching.
Marketplaces have always attracted people, but not just because of the shops. It's also because of the possibility to do the universal activities. The arrangement of the hallways, the balconies, and the seating areas make it possible for people to sit or to stroll and watch an endless parade of other people.
Television is simply a technology that allows us to watch people wherever we happen to be. It brings the world to us whenever we want it. Watching includes more than other people. Anything that moves will do. Fountains, waves, fire, and animals are all popular subjects to watch.
If things aren't moving, we can move. Rocking chairs or fidgeting help to pass the time. And strolling, or going for a ride, is just a way of making the world move around us.
Intoxication also changes the way we experience the world. Most people think that intoxication is being drunk. In fact, drunkenness is an especially heavy intoxication with one particular type of intoxicant, namely alcohol. But intoxication can also be quite mild and produced by other substances as well. Smoking tobacco is a form of intoxicant use, and most of our popular non-alcoholic drinks contain the stimulant drug caffeine. Courtship activity can take many forms. Ordinarily, we keep a personal space between us and others. Moving in on that space is permitted when people share affection. Eye contact can be another form of courtship activity, which is one of the reasons we dip our eyes when we pass strangers on the street, like car headlights on the highway at night. One of the characteristics of universal activities is that they can be done almost anywhere with a minimum of equipment. They're very convenient. You can read anywhere there's enough light to see by, as long as you have something to read.
The people who design and build places like this understand some very important things about human behavior. If we want to get control of our lives too, we're going to have to understand something of what they know.
The
meaning of these universal activities becomes a little clearer when we remember that they're so easy we can do 5 or 6 at the same time. The reason we do these activities at all is to make our lives more pleasant and interesting. The reason we cluster them together can be demonstrated something like this. Experience can be represented graphically. This would be a neutral experience, neither good nor bad. This would be a really positive experience, something you enjoyed doing tremendously, like skiing down your favorite ski run when the conditions were just perfect. This would be a so-so experience, something you enjoyed, but it's not terrific, like getting a good score on your favorite arcade game, but not the high score. Eating a bag of cheesies wouldn't be a peak experience unless you're weird for cheesies. Now, if we add listening to music, the two things have an additive effect. If you add someone to talk to, there are 3 things going on. Now we can add courtship activity, touching each other, and there are 4 things going on. Things are really looking up. Include intoxication, say a little beer, and there are 5 things happening, and it's really moving well. Now, let's see what happens when we add people watching. Parties, bars, and cabarets are simply combinations of these universal activities clustered together in the same time period to create a greater impact on experience. Good times everywhere are associated with clusters of these simple activities, yet strangely, people are reluctant to see them as being important, and we don't talk about them much. When you're sitting in your living room rocking chair, listening to the stereo, reading, having a cup of tea, eating, and somebody shouts, "What are you doing?" you might well answer, "Nothing." Yet, these activities are the most frequently used techniques for making our lives pleasant. Doing nothing can be very complicated. I've calculated that there are 2,047 different combinations of these 11 universal activities. So can you. You have something really tedious and unpleasant to do, like having to clean your room for the first time in 4 years. Universal activities can have a role to play here, too. Let's see how this works. This is the negative experience of actually cleaning your room, and this is the feeling of satisfaction once it's all over. Now, if we add in some universal activities, listening to music, you can see how the negative is diminished. Add something to eat. Somebody to talk to at the same time. And then maybe throw in a few cold drinks. That negative experience has been considerably reduced. These universal activities can be combined with almost everything. The advantage of these universal activities in counteracting boring or unpleasant experience makes them especially attractive anytime life isn't very good. But there is reason for care. Although people do these activities for positive reasons, they also have their negative side. We've all heard of people who have gotten themselves hung up on one or more of these universal activities, watching television, napping, eating, or drinking, and it can be very difficult to get unhung up. The easiness and convenience of these activities is also their danger. The reason for this is power, personal power.
the ability to do things for oneself.
All living things have powers. All living things can act on themselves and the environment in some way. Plants can push their way up through cracks in the pavement and can grow seeds that will catch the breeze and spread another generation of plants for miles. Salmon can leap over waterfalls. Wolves can hunt together in packs and cooperate in raising their cubs. A creature's powers are made up of all its abilities to act, to do things, to change itself or the environment. Now here's the problem. Humans are primarily learning creatures. We are designed to explore, invent, and increase our powers through accumulating experience and understanding. A dandelion's powers are pre-wired and fixed. It doesn't have to practice to be a good dandelion. For us learning creatures, however, most of our powers must be developed. And if we don't use them, we tend to lose them. Put another way, if we don't challenge ourselves occasionally by exploring and doing difficult things, we start to lose our capacity to do difficult things. The universal activities are so easy and appealing that they're often the first choice when people have the freedom to decide what to do with themselves. The problem is that if we don't regularly exercise our powers, they can get so far out of shape that the universal activities are all that we have left to do. We've become dependent. Excessive dependence on any of the universal activities is both a cause and an effect of decayed personal powers. Think of people who are drunk most of the time and what has happened to their ability to learn and grow. Dependence is a freedom trap where people lose the capacity to make things happen. The risk of dependence is increased when the quality of everyday experience is low and other options to improve things are not used or are out of reach. The risk of dependency is low when the quality of experience is good and the person has the resources to use a variety of techniques for making things even better.
Freedom means taking responsibility for your own powers. To do this, one has to be alert to freedom traps. Freedom traps are any situation that decays personal powers. Excessive dependence on universal activities are one such freedom trap. There are others. Being highly controlled by or tended to by other people. Excessive routines, an overly cool image that doesn't permit learning, and a grim outlook that overlooks opportunities for play and exploration. Freedom traps only start to catch us when we lose a balance in our activities and stop exploring or expressing our powers. Almost everyone falls into one of the freedom traps at some point during their lives. So besides being able to avoid them, it's also very important to know how to climb back out of them. It's important to be able to climb out of freedom traps before too much damage is done to personal powers. And how does one stay alert for a closing freedom trap? You ask yourself, am I becoming or unbecoming?